Well, thank you for your patience, firstly. Sorry about the technical problems at the start. Hopefully they're all out of the way. You're all very welcome here, and it's great to see this room packed full. And firstly, that was the reason why you were asked to email about your interest in coming, not so that anybody could be stopped from attending because they had tough questions, just simply so that we knew how many people we could get in, because as you can see, limited capacity in here, and there's not much space at the back. But thank you for your support, thank you for coming. If you emailed in a question, it's on here. I've got 4 or 5 pages with them on. Everything that has been sent to the club by email as of last night is on here. So nothing is off limits, nothing has been omitted, nobody's question has been left out because it's too difficult. We will get through everything. We have grouped them together, categorised them. As I'm sure you're aware, there's plenty of questions about Steve Watson, about finance, about the transfer embargo, about Joe Calla. It's all in here. We're going to go through it tonight with the representatives from the club. I know they need no introduction, but we have to my left Michael Williams, who is the operations manager at Gateshead. Thank you, Michael. Ben Clark, now first team manager. And a man who you all know has been involved with the club for many years now, Mike Coulson. What is your new title, Mike?
Head of Football Operations.
Mike's official new title, I'm sure you saw the notice last week, is Head of Football Operations, and we'll ask you more about exactly what that entails, and I'm sure some more questions will come your way later. So I have on here everything that's been submitted in advance. I may ask a few questions myself, and once we've been through all of these, we'll probably throw it open, so feel free to return to previous topics. Once we've discussed it up here, after using your questions, we're not closing the door on it. We can return to it. As I've said, nothing is off limits. You may not like every aspect of every answer, but we're not trying to leave anything out, okay? Firstly, thank you if you sent a question in. They're not attributed to anyone, but everything is on here. Some people didn't want their names being read out and their questions being attributed. But Michael, firstly, and thank you for being here. I think a lot of these only you can really answer. I'm going to start with Joe Calla, who is involved with the club and has been since the takeover in the summer. We have a few questions here. I'll do a couple of them together and then maybe you can answer them all at once. But about Joe, what is Joe Calla's involvement at the club? Why is he not listed in the programme or on the website? Why is he at the stadium despite having no official involvement? So please tell us about Joe Calla, who he is, why he's at the club, what he's doing, and basically why there is no official listing of him in club documents and club website.
Thank you all for coming. So Joe originally came as the representative of Ranjan. Him and Ranjan probably go back about 10 years working together on shipbuilding projects and this type of thing. Basically, Joe's there as a representative of Ranjan and also as Chief Financial Officer, because Ranjan is putting in money every month into the club, probably so far to the tune of around £300,000 he's put into the club, and by the end of the season he'll probably put another £150,000 into the club to keep it running every month. And Joe's there really to keep an eye on the money, to see how it's spent, and also how money can be saved at the club. With regard to listing in the club programme, that's something that's never come up before, and he could be listed. That's not a problem. If people feel there's some issue about, there's no problem having listed there. That's not a problem. Again, like I said, he's at the stadium every day from maybe from 8 in the morning till 8 at night sometimes, working there. And as I said, his official involvement is with Ranjan, the finances, With regard to FA rulings, both the FA and the National League are aware that he's at the club, and with regard to becoming an officer of the club, that lots of people asked about that. There are actually FA rules that allow professional advisors working in the club, looking after various roles from their professional capacity, and they do not need to be an officer of the club, as I am as a director, as Ranjan is a director.
There's another one here which says that you previously stated that Joe is advising the owner in regards to financial matters, which you just explained again. Now, Mr. Caller can be seen working on the turnstiles and selling programmes on a match day. What is his official role? What other areas is he involved in? You've covered some of that, but I suppose on those other match day issues, it might be strange for some supporters to see members of the hierarchy, which I guess he is, fulfilling those roles. So why is he doing that?
That's just his choice, and he wants to get involved. It's a good way of meeting people, because everyone who comes through the door, he's there. People say he's hidden away in the office, but he's there at every match on the turnstile around the stadium. Many people come into the office when they're buying Hartlepool tickets and that, and Joe was there, and he's always engaging if people come up to him and have a chat.
I think we've all probably seen some.
One more thing.
Oh, go on.
He has been labelled as a criminal and a charlatan and all this type of stuff. And I admit he's a maverick, as does many people who work with him and know him from day to day. But he's not a criminal at all. I wouldn't involve myself with criminals. He has a big heart. He has the best interest of the club. He's been working really hard to make the club sustainable up to a point it is at the moment. And I just want to say, put on record, there's no criminal intent at all with Joe Carlo.
Razor, could I just say he is a maverick? He asked me to go on the turnstiles the other week. That's the kind of bloke he is. I didn't have a game the other day, and he asked me if I wanted to do the turnstiles. So that's what Joe's like.
I've done the turnstiles myself as well. So.
You sort of preempted what I was about to ask, because I was going to say that I think we've probably all seen, those of us, and I imagine most in here, with access to the internet, that use Twitter or on the Heed Army forum. Some accounts from fans of other clubs, Morecambe most recently, Portsmouth, Belper Town as well, another non-league side, and supporters mentioning Joe's potential involvement in those clubs. Now, he's never owned any of those clubs. He has tried to buy them, or at least Portsmouth and Morecambe. First question on that, is he banned, forbidden by the FA, the National League, the EFL, the Premier League from owning a football club in this country?
No, he's not banned, no. Answer that question. With regard to, I wasn't involved in Belper, because I wasn't involved in football then, but for Portsmouth, I had some involvement. If you cast your mind back, it was when Milan Mandrić sold the club. He sold it on to, it was actually an Israeli arms dealer who he sold Portsmouth on to. And when Joseph first went to buy, it's about 7 years ago, and the debt was stated at about 30 million. They had an administrator in charge at the time, Andrew Andronicou. It turned out the actual debt was about 120 million the club owed. After Joseph spent £60,000 on lawyers to find this out, subsequently Andrew Andronicou, he was removed as administrator, and a new administrator was put on, and Joseph went his own way. With regard to Morecambe, that actually happened twice. The first time was in the summer, and he had an agreement with Peter McGuigan, the then owner of Morecambe. He gave Peter a bond for £2 million. Then Peter, he decided to change his mind, sell the club to Diego Lemos, a Brazilian guy who got into bed with a Qatari guy. Turns out that Mr. Lemos, he had falsified his proof of funds bank statements with the Qatari guy's information. He subsequently disappeared out of the country, leaving debts. The Morecambe was then taken over by G50 Holdings, who the Qatari guy had some involvement with. who was headed up by actually the local guy called Graham Bernard, a tax accountant. Joseph had agreement to buy the club from G50 Holdings, but then once it was going through in the media, Mr. Lemos, the Brazilian guy, came along and says, no, I actually own the club. So the two people purporting to own the Morecambe Football Club. Then the FA says, look, there's an issue here. We can't sell the Morecambe Football Club because there isn't a recognised owner. It went to High Court and on and on and on. And then by that time, Joseph had left that anyway. So. And it turns out last summer it was sold, Morecambe Football Club.
And as I said, we will come back to this topic if you like a bit later on, but these are just the questions specific to Joe that have been sent in advance. Just to finish on this, I might throw one to Mike Coulson as well in a moment, but Michael, I'll do two together. Michael, are you just a mouthpiece for Joe and Ranjan Varghese? Is he actually real, or is he just a figurehead to get Calla into the club and run it, as he is not supposed to be near a football club? And along with that, does Joe Calla own Gateshead Football Club, or is it Ranjan Varghese?
From my personal point of view, as some of you know, I've given up 6 months of as a secondment for my other business to come to Gateshead. I'm here really because I'm a local person, born in the northeast. I live in Concert. That was my involvement to try and help Ranjan and Joe over the first 6 months to try and smooth things at the club and make changes where necessary, get systems in place. What was the other?
Who owns the club?
Ranjan owns the club, as in 100%. But saying that, actually, I can't say 100% because it was only a few months ago that we were going through old documents and we found out about old Gateshead shareholders that do exist. And with regard to, it's Ranjan's money going into the club. Plenty of people, the documents being proven with regard to the league, with regard to bank accounts, where the money's coming from, etc. So yes, Ranjan is the owner of the club, assisted by Joe with regard to finances.
And Mike Coulson, just wanted to ask you, you obviously have extra or slightly different responsibilities now, but you work with Joe day to day. Can you just tell us how that dynamic does play out in the office?
Look, just behead him. Never shuts up. He's talking all the time, and it's just one thing after another. He's actually, when you get to know him, he's a canny bloke, but it takes a bit of getting used to. As far as Monroe's concerned, if that's what you're talking about, apart from the duties I had as general manager, I've now assumed responsibility for contracts, talking to players' agents and things like that. I'll be fronting that up from now on. As Mike takes more of a back seat to look at other business interests, I'll be doing other things like booking the coaches for away travel, so just that sort of thing. And things that Mike has taken on board will be passing across to me, and I think Mike's going to concentrate more on the commercial and the academy side of things.
Give the mic to Ben. Ben, your first job as manager, how then, with Mike having those extra responsibilities, taking some of those tasks away from you, how has that helped you so far? How will that help you in terms of letting you focus on the football?
Yeah, it's great for me. It's going to work perfect. So if the lads have got any problems, they won't see Mike. It's got nothing to do with me. No, it enables me to do what I do best, really, and I think that's on the training pitch with the lads, trying to improve them. I've got a good relationship with Mike. I've known him a long time, and he's very straightforward with us, as is Mike and Joe. So it just works out perfectly for me. Where, like I said, I can concentrate on the players on the pitch. I will talk to Mike, which the players that we think, we are trying to look to tie down, and like I say, the negotiation side of things, that'll be down to Mike and obviously the players' agents.
Congratulations on getting the job. We'll talk about Steve Watson and the circumstances surrounding his departure soon, but How long did it take from knowing that Steve was leaving for you to then be offered and accept the role as manager?
Not long at all, really. I knew the position I was in, you know, obviously being a reserve team manager, this always may come up. Obviously Steve did a fantastic job, and, you know, I knew that the opportunity may come, and then, you know, I had a conversation with Mike and Joe, and basically he said, do you want the job? And I didn't really have to think twice about it. I knew it was something that I wanted to do, and yeah, so I just grabbed the opportunity.
I'm going to move on to something else, Michael, now, about another Michael Di Stefano. Some of us may have seen a Twitter exchange between him and some supporters. I think you were involved or implicated in some way. This was a couple of weeks ago while Steve Watson was manager. I'll just read a couple of the questions that have come in, and then I'll let you put your point of view across in response to them. Firstly, what is Michael Di Stefano's role at Gateshead? What is his connection to the club and those in charge? Why has he been seen at the stadium and has admitted to being involved in the takeover on social media? Di Stefano seems privy to confidential and sensitive club information. Why?
Actually, if you want to blame one person for bringing Joe Carley, it has to be Michael Di Stefano. So Michael's original role was, he first, when the club was put up for sale, he first got in touch with Richard Bennett. I said that, you know, I'm busy with my other interests. I'd sort of walked away from football to work on other things, so I says, you know, you explore this avenue, and Michael was in touch with Richard, and it was Michael who first brought Ranjan, Joe and Richard together to discuss the sale of the club. So for the first few months he was heavily involved, privy to all confidential information, because he was involved in the discussions between Richard. You know, this is how certain information's been leaked out, so to speak, not from ourselves, but he was around for the first 3 or 4 months. So Michael, he came up to one of the matches. I mean, I've known him personally for about 10 years.
Is he a football agent? Is that
he is,
yeah.
He's a registered intermediary, as they're called these days. So that's how he became involved. He doesn't have any role in the club apart from being a friend.
And a few more on this topic and this person, about the Twitter exchange. Why did he make those comments about Steve Watson on Twitter, and what was his source? Michael, what are your views on that dispute, and was it a key reason for the resignation of Steve Watson and Mickey Cummins' departure?
From my point of view, I was rather pissed off when he made those comments, and I told him straight away. Like I said, he wasn't linked to anything because he's privy to his information, because he's around at the start. And with regard to Steve leaving, I don't think that was a straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. So.
I'll give you a rest for a minute. Mike Coulson, perhaps you can answer this, and Michael, you may need to as well, and perhaps Ben, I think this will be something that you can contribute to. It's about the transfer embargo, which has been in place for a little while now. Here are the questions that have come in. Are the club confident about the embargo being lifted, and if so, when will it be lifted? What has the club done so far to get the embargo lifted? What does it still need to do for that to happen? What are the potential stumbling blocks? Mike Coulson first.
I think you have to go back to the summer, even prior to the summer, when Richard decided to part company and sell the club. He announced in April that he wanted to leave. He actually made that decision quite a few months before that, but didn't announce it because he felt the club were in the FA Trophy. He didn't want the team to be distracted by news of him potentially going. So that's why he waited until April. You can't sell a football club overnight. And as time went on, he was forced into the situation where he had to make decisions about players, contracts, things like that. So he was faced with the decision to either wind the club up or continue. He's openly said he couldn't afford to fund the club in the same way he had for the previous 3 years. So he set a very low budget, which had to be sent to the National League in June.
How much is the budget, roughly, in the summer?
The entire budget. The playing budget was in the region of 250,000.
And that down perhaps 2/3 on last year, something like that? Under Neil Aspin, what he began with, something like that?
Probably that, yeah.
So again, that's the difference between what you had to work with this summer and previously.
That's what we started off with back in pre-season. The National League accepted it on the proviso that Richard gave an undertaking to fund any shortfall in the budget. And because Richard had a trading history with the league, they accepted that. The club then changed hands, and the current owner said, well, thank you, we'll take over, we'll keep the budget the way it is, until we've had time to assess the situation and make our own mind about what we're going to do. That's a bit what Mike was saying about Joe's involvement with the club, looking at the various financial aspects. We exceeded the budget, not surprisingly, by quite a significant amount. And the league monitor the budget every quarter. And at the end of the first quarter, the league said, look, it said, this is what you said your income must be and the expenditure. They've gone way over the top. We're not happy. We're going to put you under an embargo. That's not a punishment. What, in essence, the league is saying is, look, lads, you can't afford the players you've got, so you're not going to sign anybody else. It's just to protect the players, it's to protect the club, and to protect the integrity of the league. The situation we're in now is that the league have given the club the instructions of what we're going to do. We'll have to resubmit a workable budget, submit a cash flow, and the current owner had to give the same guarantee that Richard did in the summer. That's all been done. The paperwork's all gone off, and the league have come back and said, thank you very much, we now want to have a meeting just to go through the budget. So that's where we are at the moment. That meeting will take place with Ranjan, who's actually coming across for that, probably next week or the week after. So it's not been lifted yet. It will be lifted subject to the National League being satisfied with the meeting with Ranjan.
But that's after the transfer window closes, isn't it?
It's after the transfer window, but the National League aren't bound by the transfer window.
Yeah.
So that doesn't actually concern us as such. Yeah, so
that's nothing to worry about then, the fact that it's after January the 31st, you're still able to make moves for players, assuming it gets lifted?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, Ben, I mean, it's not an ideal situation for you to come into. We've heard the story behind it there. And I guess it wasn't for Steve Watson either. Players have gone and haven't been able to be replaced. Have you got targets in mind, loans, players unattached that you want to bring in when you can?
Yeah, there's a few. I think we all know we probably need another striker. I think, yeah, we all know that. But bar that, there's not really a lot we want to bring in. I'm quite happy with the squad of players that I've got. I think you saw that on Saturday, where we played Salford and we more than matched them. Obviously, it's the other two halves, but we would like to bring probably another striker in, because if anything did happen to Riggy or Boards, we would be slightly late in that position. But apart from that, that's the only one.
Mike, just back to you, because a couple of questions in on Richard and Julie Bennett, the former owners who had the club for 3 years. I think you've covered this, but I'm going to read the question out anyway. What was the initial budget submitted, which you've told us? How feasible was it to run a full-time club that's professional in the league? Richard Bennett stated the club was debt-free, however it's been reported this was not the case. Is that true, and if so, what was the extent of the debt or payments owed, or I guess the general financial picture of the club, its health in the summer?
No difficult then. To answer the first question, the budget that was submitted was totally unrealistic for a professional football club. We hadn't the hope and hope of keeping in sight of that. That was exacerbated because the income on the budget was increased by £100,000 on what we took last year. You tell me why that happened, because I couldn't see where that was going to come from. So that just added to the overdrawn element of the budget. What's the next point?
Was the club debt-free or not? If it wasn't, what was the extent of the debt, the financial situation?
Richard advertised the club, or he went into the press saying that the club was debt-free. It wasn't. It was nowhere near debt-free. We owed the council an arm and a leg for unpaid rent, and there were various other creditors which the current regime have had to settle. Because obviously creditors don't take into account the fact that the club's changed hands. The money's owed by Gateshead Football Club Limited, and the club has to pay the debt. As regards the extent, it wouldn't really be appropriate to go into actual figures. Suffice to state it down to Northern Ireland.
Just one thing about the debt, because when Joe originally came to the club, he was going to come for a couple of weeks, then go back and come back again. But like anything, when new owners come in, skeletons come out the cupboard, so to speak, demanding money. So there was a lot of work for him to do to service the debt from the old regime.
So, I mean, we know there's a lot of suspicion, and you may not be satisfied with what you hear, and you may have made your mind up already, or you could be open-minded about the regime and Joe's involvement. But what you said there, Michael, is that he initially came, as part of Ranjan's team, and he wasn't going to stay for long, but there was more work for him to do to sort out the club's financial situation and presumably reduce the losses that the club is making each month. Has he been able to do that?
Yeah, when you think the last 3 years when Richard was involved, the club lost between 800 and £1 million a year. It's probably this year's probably going to be 250, 300,000. So there's a lot being knocked off, but still putting out a very competitive team at the same time on a revenue of £500,000. As Mike said, for some reason when the new budget, when the original budget was put through in the summer, that Richard put through, the revenue was 650,000 for some reason, but the actual revenue for the club is £500,000.
We've got questions to come about the fan base and supporter involvement, more about turnstile operations, academy, more finance questions. Maybe in 5 or 10 minutes we'll have a quick break, because I know some of you might want to fill your glasses up at the bar. Steve Watson. Now, some questions have obviously come in about Steve. Here they are. How did he leave the club? Was the club aware that Steve had applied for the York job beforehand? Did he let the club know? Did the club try to keep him? Was Steve offered a better deal at York? These are some of the questions that some fans want answered. Michael, firstly, maybe we'll pass it down the line. Probably not easy for you, Ben, but Mike, I think you can answer this. Can you tell us, Michael, firstly, and then Mike, the circumstances surrounding Steve's departure, because it did happen quite quickly?
Well, the first thing I knew was when someone got in touch. I think it was Alicia actually, saying that the odds had gone down from 40 to 1 to 6 to 4 favourite for the York job. Prior to that, I didn't know anything about it. And when Steve came in early on, it might be the Thursday morning or something, to offer his resignation along with Mickey, that was the first things we knew. With regard to package, I don't think. Well, yeah, I highly doubt that he won't be he hasn't gone for the money, but as he's publicly said, he's gone to a big club, a bigger club, a former league club that moved to a new stadium, new training ground in the summer. They have 3,000 fans now, and that's going to that's going to increase when they go to the new stadium. So, and he's always said he's very ambitious, wants to manage in the Premier League. So that's my point of view.
Yeah. I got no advance warning that he was leaving. I've got to say, hand on heart, I wasn't totally surprised, because I felt working with Steve the past 2 weeks, I felt there was a change in his attitude and behaviour. I just had that feeling something was coming. But it was kind of more a question of when than if. What did surprise me was that Mickey went with him. I wasn't expecting that one at all. And when I talked to Steve, it was going because it's a bigger project. York have been a league club for years, have been struggling in the conference, been up and down, big fan base. He could see more potential at York than he could at Gateshead, particularly in our current circumstances. That's a current millstone around our neck. We've got to get that sorted, and so we can crack on. But in the short term, and lots of people in football look at things in the short term, it was a better short term bet than Gateshead was.
Ben, obviously, you can't answer it in quite the same way, but you'd worked with Steve as part of the staff at the club, and also with Mickey Cummins. How is it different now then with the players, because they had their methods, you with Ian Watson, and got Mike Williamson supporting you as well? How have you delegated the coaching and everything else? We know Ian does a lot of the fitness work with you, and you're obviously leading that group.
Yeah, just for the record, I just wanted how much respect I have for Steve and Mickey, particularly Mickey. You know, I worked with them for 8 years, and they're friends, and you know they've made a decision. We can't dwell on that now. They've gone, so you know we have to move forward. Just for my management team, actually, Bustard's at a game tonight. He's watching a game. He's gone to Sunderland, I think, the Man City. Yeah, so look for some Man City players. So he's gone to that game tonight.
Not before the Embargo was lifted, you know.
Mike is actually watching the Bournemouth game. So he's at home watching the Bournemouth game from the weekend, and I'm here in the pub, so it's good. No, so it's working really well. Mike's a fascinating man. If you get obviously the career that he's had, he's fantastic. He's got utmost respect of the lads, especially on the defensive side of things. A lot of shape work we've done in the past few days, particularly for the Salford game, because we knew that at the time we'd have to be disciplined in our work. And Ian's very knowledgeable with the level and the area. He's actually gone to the game with Nathan Fisher tonight, who works for Middlesbrough. So, you know, it's working really well. Just on that, I know I've just had a 15-minute phone call with Phil Turnbull. So he's not coming back. No, he's not coming back. But you know, Phil Turnbull, James Curtis, Craig Baxter, these type of players, that local players that know what it means to play for the football club. That's something I want to try and bring to the football club, because the best teams I've played for the football club have been the local lads, and they know what it means to wear the shirt. I think we've tried bringing in players from afar, and it all hasn't worked. We've got to try and buy into what I want to do, and so that's what we're going to do.
And maybe that's one of the positives to come out of the situation in the summer with the club, that Steve Watson and the club had to pursue lads who lived locally, who wouldn't command big money, many of whom are young boys still living at home. You do have some more experienced players and some players that have been around for a few years, but it is largely North East lads playing for a North East club who may have knowledge of Gateshead, but who it suits them to be here, whether it's for geography or whatever else.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on, really, to be fair. You know, local lads, I mean, Tom White, everybody just got to see Tom White. If there's a better player in the league, I haven't seen one yet. The way he's playing. John Mellish, you know, a breath of fresh air, would running through a brick wall for you. Greg Ollie, you know, I can go right through Elliot Forbes, Jack Hunter, local lad. You can go right through the team, you know, Robbie Tinkler, Paisley. So we've got a really good core. And like I said, I think North East footballers in general and North East supporters just want to see honesty, I think. And I think that's exactly what they are. And the beauty about them is they can only get better. So yeah, we're looking to work with them.
Say just one thing about the North East footballers. In the last 6 months, when I've been to matches and meeting the various owners of the the other clubs, they're very jealous about the situation we find ourselves in, being in the North East, and the amount of football and talent historically that's come out of the North East and still present now. And like I said, I think we've maybe got 15 local players with a local coach, and that really has made a difference. People buying into the, they understand the North East culture, the North East football, the passion, the importance, the spirits. While in the past they've brought in players from afar who they just don't understand the North East. I think this is an important point.
A few more questions, and then we'll just have a quick break. Let you go back to the bar in numbers, and then we'll go on to the rest of the questions, and maybe take some from the floor as well, because nothing is off limits. As I'm sure you've seen, we have been quite forensic in our approach so far. You mentioned Robbie Tinkler there, Ben. Michael, is Robbie Tinkler going to York, or is that nonsense?
Yeah, that's nonsense, yeah.
And there's another rumour as well about Scott Bowden. I know he isn't one of the North East lads in the squad, linked to Chesterfield, who have been in touch. What's the situation there?
If you bear in mind that Chesterfield, their budget's 1.3 million, and they got in contact by an agent, and they offered a huge amount first of £3,000 of him. Then they even more, and it went up to £10,000, and we said no, thank you.
And there is a transfer embargo, but that doesn't mean that there doesn't have to be a fire sale. You're not in administration. No. You don't lose your best players just because you can't bring others in.
Exactly. Well, and even if we could, we wouldn't be selling our strikers. We need more strikers. So, yeah.
Finally, for now on this section, this is the first 2 pages of what was sent in. It's about the owner, Ranjan Varghese. Here are the questions. If Ranjan is real, he is real because he's been to the stadium, some of us have met him, will he be adding significant funds to the initial budget left behind by the previous owners? Does he intend on coming over on a more frequent basis, and does he intend to communicate with fans more? We'll do those 2 first, and I think the other 2 are linked as well. I know you've touched on these issues already, about the budget and him putting money in, and also Mike, you talked about him coming over in a couple of weeks, but could you just put a bit of meat on the bones there?
Yeah, actually he is currently, we're hoping for him to be next week, but he's looking at actually relocating to the UK, either to be in London or to the North East. Most of his shipbuilding project he's involved with, they have London offices. With regard to, again, unfortunately, with the way the National League runs, our expenditure is very much linked to our revenue. So if we're only bringing in £500,000, and Ranjan's currently putting another £350,000 on top of that to keep the club going. So we don't want to end up in the embargo position. Again, a lot of this is linked to what we've been saying about working with North East footballers, bringing them into the club, and they understanding the ethos that we're looking for. If you bring in players in from afar, they do cost a lot more money. If you bring a lot more experienced players through, they also cost a lot more money. So we have to cut our cloth accordingly. And as you can see from what's happened this season with regard to the squad that's been assembled, it is a highly competitive squad. Looking forward to next season, we would look. Well, who knows? We could end up in League 2. But if we're still in the National League, we'd look on a similar basis to put a squad together to get to the playoffs and see where we can go on from there.
Mike, anything to add to that, or has that covered it?
About the owner?
Yeah. No? No? Okay. Well, I'll ask you these other 2 then, Michael. You can, if you want. If there's anything you want to say, just grab the mic. It's fine. No pun intended. Have the owners attempted to sell the club since taking over? In fact, before you answer that, I've got here owners.
You have to pass
Give
it
that back to you. Someone can't hear at the back. Sorry about that. I've got in here, and these are written by fans. We haven't edited them. Owners. Is it just semantics? There is one owner, and it's Ranjan.
Yeah.
I think when we talk about owners, we mean hierarchy, people running the club. Is that fair? I'm not
That's correct.
Right. So I know that came up, I think, on the fans forum earlier.
Because Ben said owners once,
Ben.
and people said, how can there be owners? There's only one owner. So,
People say it about Newcastle as well, when obviously they have one owner there. Has he attempted to sell the club since taking over? And I know you've touched on it about next season. Is he committed to next season and beyond?
Actually, it's interesting since Ranjan came in and people are aware of the way the costs have been cut. The amount of people that get in touch wanting to buy the club. Many dreamers get involved in football and think they could come and buy the club, but no, it hasn't been trying to sell the club. But lots of people do get in touch and say, is the club for sale? The answer is no.
Thank you. I know you've had a lot of questions to answer on behalf of others as well, and you know, you are a volunteer, so it is appreciated you being here and taking those questions and comments from supporters, and Mike and Ben likewise.
I'll just say one thing, because you know, people said, why is it taking 6 months to have a fans forum? But after I've been at the club, I think 2 or 3 months, I did meet with some of the fans who are here tonight, and unfortunately it was seen as some secret cloak and dagger meeting held in a broom cupboard, and it shouldn't be allowed type thing. So and that did put things back again, and the people involved were a bit pissed off as well. So, but anyway, it's good to finally get together, and this will be a more regular occurrence as well.
As I mentioned, we have got questions on other subjects. There's more on financial matters. There's something on academy and young players, turnstiles, supporters, and maybe some from you as well, hopefully, in the next section. But we'll have a break, 5 minutes or so, go to the bar, and then we'll reconvene, as I say, in about 5 minutes with some more questions. Thank you.